Yes, it's working. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for the patience there, everybody. And I'll get back to the live chat as usual. But there's so much good news to talk about. And I just want to share it all with you. So big thank you for joining. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic versus Ethereum, Coinbase, Galaxy Digital, Bank of America, and for the first time ever, Dogecoin, which would be kind of weird. So anyway, this is about math, money, and freedom. And I try and look at data and numbers and find ways to help you all buy your time back so you can make this world a better place. And of course, this is edutainment. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about some of the big stuff that I've been talking about for quite some time. This is about the Bitcoin supply shortage. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, I've been warning that this is coming. It's going to happen. I'm just not sure when. But this chart here talks about the Bitcoin supply shortage on over-the-counter balances. And you can see the trend is clearly down with the little turquoise line. And we are now down to literally a handful of thousands of coins that are available. So when treasuries and high net worth individuals and big money center banks want to come and buy some Bitcoin, this is where they buy it. The Teslas of the world, the MicroStrategy is a big favorite of mine. They come here to grab it. Now, what you'll see is soon this is going to dry up. So I'll be monitoring this Glassnode chart very carefully. But what's also very interesting to note is there's been a huge upsurge in stablecoin reserves on spot exchanges. So what that means as well, people are parking their stablecoins ready to pounce and buy the dips. So when you see any dips happen, especially lately over the last couple of weeks, they are bought up in seconds. And that's what happens. The big money with all their stable coins are just grabbing the coins off the exchanges. So watch for that. Future's very bright. We just broke an all-time high with Ethereum, which is good news. And at one stage today, I think Bitcoin is up $3,500. So things are really on the move, which is good. Now, the second thing, a little bit more of what I call Bitcoin mainstreamification news. And many of you have probably heard about this if you're watching the news wires. But what this is a combination of Fidelity National Information Services and NYDIG. You've heard me talk about NYDIG before. They are now going to give banks, any bank, a regional bank, a community bank, a credit union, a money center bank, the ability to offer crypto services to their customers. Now, the reason they're doing this, I've been warning for a long time, it's kind of like, some of you may remember, ING Direct came to the US. It was the first ever web-only bank. They had no brick and mortar, no branches, no nothing. And the Citibanks and the Bank of Americas and the Wells Fargos and the other big banks noticed, where did our savings deposits go? Well, what people were doing is they were taking their money out of their traditional banks and dumping it in ING Direct. And they were getting 4 or 5% interest on their checking accounts. Now, that might seem unbelievable to some people today, but this is only 20 years ago. I did it myself. I moved all my money from Citibank, and I moved it to a checking account and parked it there. And it was very successful. But it took the banks 1 or 2 years to figure out, we've lost all of our deposits. So how are we going to lend and charge much more money on our money? So when they don't have any deposits. So that was a big issue. And that's changed. But this is happening again because now the banks are realizing if we don't offer custodial services quickly, all our deposits are disappearing. Everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, as they say, is taking their fiat and they're buying crypto however they can. They're even buying Dogecoin. So, and other mainstreamification news, which is kind of related, but not, but Bitcoin for a Banksy. This is the latest Banksy piece of art. And I'm a big Banksy fan. I think his stuff is spectacular. If any of you who don't know who he is, there's a really cool documentary about Banksy. But Sothebys, a 276-year-old auction firm, said they would accept Bitcoin for the Banksy. And it's estimated to sell between $3 and $5 million, which actually is 80 Bitcoin is $5 million bucks. For a second, it's like, last year, if you saw yesterday's video, I talked about you could buy enough Ethereum to retire on in the year 2030 for $3,000. So that's how fast this space is moving and this world is moving. So everybody buckle in. And I thought this was cool news. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this Sotheby's and Bitcoin for Banksy, again, is not only the mainstreamification, but also who is behind it. And that's the next slide. So this is Coinbase. Coinbase are helping Sotheby's take crypto to buy art, which is great. And the cool thing about Coinbase is they have their fingers in a lot of different pots and they're very creative and they're doing wonderful things. But people are asking me on Patreon, how come I haven't purchased an option on Coinbase yet? And I'm going to address that right now. So first of all, I'm still waiting to enter a position. I've been looking at Kathy Wood for quite some time and she keeps on buying Coinbase. And I just want her to give me a call and we can talk numbers because I don't see the numbers she is seeing. So I'm still waiting to enter. Options are now available, but I believe the business is facing headwinds. So they charge currently about 4% commissions, and I don't think that's sustainable, especially with all the competition coming in from exchanges. And you have decentralized exchanges, DEXs, where people can trade with each other for no commissions. And they are very creative, as I said before, but the real issue is on the next slide here. This is what has me concerned. So first of all, a big congratulations to all the insiders who sold for $400 plus. Well done, Coinbase insiders. You did a great job. But the people that were left holding the bag were the people that bought the IPO. And if you saw my Coinbase IPO video, I said, don't do it. Anyway, I'm still holding off to get in, but the more I look into the financials, the more scared I get. So the Coinbase company is expected to make about $2.68. So if you know me, I like rapid growth stocks. I don't even care if they're not making money as long as there's line of sight to profitability and then that profitability over time. But I've never seen a fast growing company have declining earnings over time, such radically declining earnings from $7 to $2.50. It's a big haircut. And now today, investors are paying 76 times earnings based on 2022 estimates, which is expensive, or 12 times sales, which is expensive. Typically, a company should be no more than 6 times sales, depending on the space that they're in, and about 20 to 30 times earnings. Now, there are exceptions with the Teslas of the world, et cetera, but you really pay for their future earnings growth. Now, I just think it's still very expensive compared to other types of peer group companies. So I'm still not invested in Coinbase, and I may never get in, other than perhaps for a speculative trade ahead of earnings, because I know their earnings will be very good, especially if Bitcoin goes to $100,000 and they're getting 4% of commission and transaction. That's a lot of money. So somebody will be doing well. So I hope that answers all the questions regarding Coinbase. In from everybody. Galaxy Digital, another big fan. If you saw my Galaxy Digital video, I own Galaxy Digital. I have been in communication with Mike Novogratz. I think he's a cool guy. And he's, we spoke very early in the Sunday morning and the guy is a workaholic, which I respect. Now, Galaxy is a major league player, obviously. And with this acquisition of BitGo for $1.2 billion, there's a couple of things. One, it's the biggest ever deal in the space. And it's the first $1 billion plus deal. And it'll give them that crypto custody that we just spoke about that all banks need. So not only will they compete with legacy financial services, but they will enable legacy financial service companies to survive over the next 3 to 5 years in this cryptoverse. So the other things, well, to remind you, they have filed for a Bitcoin ETF, which is very good as well. So anyway, watch out. Mike Novogratz is coming, and he is an awesome guy. Now, in other news, this is a little bit of Schadenfreude, which is one of my favorite words in the German language, and I should make it happy. But speaking of legacy banks and legacy financial institutions, I don't hate them, but I do not like Bank of America. I think they're a crummy organization, and they hate crypto. They came out with a huge report saying Bitcoin is dirty, slow, it's volatile, it's impractical, etc. I mean, what are they thinking? They're just, it's hard to really explain why they'd come out with such a paper. Revolutionary, and the whole crypto space is changing the world, and the DeFi space will actually hurt Bank of America down the road. So my real point is the graphic. I hope it doesn't look too violent, but Our new graphics person put this together, and she is amazing. But it's basically Ethereum slaying Bank of America because the Ethereum market cap has just completely eclipsed the whole thing about when change comes, you got a choice. You embrace it or you die. And this is the crossroads that they face, and they are fighting it. They're not embracing it. So it'll be interesting to see where Bank of America goes over the next 3 to 5 years. In other news, a little bit here regarding Ethereum. As you know, it's a great time to be in Ethereum. Makes everybody very, very happy. And this is a cool statistic. This looks at what's called NVT, which is network value to transactions. And Ethereum just eclipsed 16.5 transactions per second, which is now 3 more than their previous all-time high. But the value of these transactions, the volume of US dollars transmitted on chain is growing tremendously, just like this whole protocol itself. And again, we're still very early. And they have London coming and all the enhancements. The gas fees are down. The scalability will go up. And it'll be really off to the race for Ethereum. So I'm still very bullish for July 2021. So stay tuned for that. But it's a piece of good news. In other confusing news, and I had a lot of questions from people regarding ETC. ETC is Ethereum Classic. People were hitting me up over the past couple of days saying, ETC, what should I do? Should I sell it? Should I use it to buy Ethereum? Should I hold it? Should I buy it? Etc. So let me just give you my views of Ethereum Classic. I don't want to give you the whole history, but very briefly, over the last year, Ethereum is up 1,500%, and Ethereum Classic is up 1,200%. A lot of people always sometimes buy the cheaper asset. But what's really crazy is obviously, historically, Ethereum has always far outperformed Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic is the number 17, number 18 altcoin right now out there in the marketplace. And it's just one of those things. But Ethereum Classic is up 540% over the last month. And the market cap of Ethereum Classic is 400 billion. No, of Ethereum is 400 billion. Ethereum Classic only 11 billion. So it's a very, very small coin. So just be very careful. Don't confuse Ethereum Classic with Ethereum. It's like confusing Bitcoin Cash or BSV with Bitcoin. It's not. It's very, very different. Now, the real here about the difference between Ethereum Classic and why it's not Ethereum is Ethereum became a new chain. It's different to when they hard forked and split. The original Bitcoin remained, and Bitcoin Cash and other forks became new. With Ethereum, the new fork became the new Ethereum, and that's the one with the DAO, which is a centralized autonomous organization and all the smart contract functionality. That's the new stuff. It's also where all the developers are. And the old Ethereum Classic is just like the functionality. So again, just everybody, please don't confuse them. Now, I'm not giving financial advice. This is entertainment. But because it's run up, maybe it's time to take a little bit of profit, perhaps, because I don't think it's sustainable. Maybe it is. I'm not sure, but do your own research and figure out exactly where it's going. But I just want to clear the air that ETC is not ETH, BCH is not BTC, etc. And it gets very confusing, and I hope that helps some of you out there as well. One other final thing just to mention, the rally might be a sign of the cryptocurrency froth in the market, which actually concerns me because this type of thing, the speculative investments happened last time when the last bull market happened. So I just want everybody to be very, very careful. People look under rocks to try find cheap assets, and then they throw a lot of money at them, and then they just go parabolic. So try keep the blue chip assets is what I recommend. That's why I'm very big into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think, as I say, I said to somebody this morning on Patreon and Discord that I saw Bitcoin as a coiled up spring, and within an hour, within 1 or 2 hours, went up 3,000 or 4,000. Anyway, enough of that news. Final piece of news, Doge, before I go into the questions with you all. I think it's absurd that it's now number 4 of all market caps. It just eclipsed XRP and Cardano and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't know what's going on. I have my theories, but it's very unusual. Not investment advice, but those of you who are making a lot of money on Doge, it might hit $1. If that's the case, take your money off the table, stick it in something safe, and congratulations if you enjoyed the casino experience of investing in Doge. So I think that's a little bit. I hope you like this content. Hit the like if you do. And now I'm going to open up to some questions. So give me a second while I pull up the actual chat. And I hope I didn't miss anything very, very important. I got to read a ton of stuff. Oh, I got a lot of the usual suspects in here. So John A., thank you so much for the contribution. Again, all contributions made here go towards furry animals, shelters and pets and animals and wildlife sanctuaries and stuff. So I transferred $50 from Coinbase to Binance for 25 cents fee today. Binance is quoting $24 transfer at a different wallet. Is that common? Yes. The exchanges absolutely hammer people when they transfer coins off the exchanges. So we have a very nice spreadsheet that looks at all of the different fees across all of the different exchanges. And it's important to look at. It's one of those hidden expenses that many people aren't actually aware of when they try and move their coins, but it can be quite punitive. So sorry about that, John A., and thank you so much for the contribution. So let me jump in and answer some questions and see what's going on in the world. So I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. Are you invested in Cardano? Yes, I am. That's from Natty IFBB Pro. Just to give you an idea of my portfolio, Bitcoin first, Ethereum second. I used to be 15% Ethereum. Then I moved up to 25% Ethereum, 75% Bitcoin. And today, literally as we speak, I am now about 34%. 34% Ethereum, because Ethereum has ran much faster. Listen to Lateralus today. Forgot how much I love Tool. Adam Jaworski, yes, you got good music taste. Well done. My thoughts on Cardano. So a lot of mixed stuff. As you all know, when I look at a company, I like to look at the management team. And I'm uncovering some things that make me suspicious. I think the fastest horse will be Ethereum. I don't think, actually, let me finish the Cardano thoughts before I start jumping into the Ethereum thoughts. I think they have probably the African market sewn up. But when you look at the type of deals that Ethereum is doing and what they're doing with, European central banks, and what they're doing with NFTs, and what they're doing with DeFi and DEXs and everything else, they own the place. They have that first mover advantage. They got the largest number of developers by a huge factor. And experience means a lot. I mean, they've been running smart contracts for 5 years, which is huge. So, think about that. I know I'm looking into a whole bunch of other things, Solano, PancakeSwap, etc. So that's all coming. I do like VET. VET could be my next purchase. So stay tuned for that. Polkadot. Yeah, Polkadot is interesting. One of the things I like about Polkadot is they have, I think, the second highest number of developers in their network, which is very positive. And they could definitely take some market share away from Ethereum as they go forward. But again, this DeFi world is, we're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars. So there's enough room for everybody. It's not like there's going to be just one TV manufacturer or one car manufacturer. There's room for everybody. But there will be one majority winner, like there is in everything else. There's only one Amazon. There's only one Google. There's only one Tesla. So that's the way I look at things as well. Check the Fib retracement to see expected dips on Bitcoin. Yeah, I look at that all the time. In fact, I just set up a new Fib retracement on my Bitcoin chart to see if there's any places to accumulate any more. And I'll share that too. Yes, Metcalfe's law is real. In fact, Catherine J. Hernandez, great point. If you look at the adoption rate, the on-chain statistics, and the value just passing through the Ethereum network, and the amount staked and locked in, the TVL or TLV, I can't remember which one, I get confused, but it is parabolic. And you look at the chart I just showed you a few minutes ago, everything is pointing in the right direction. And I believe, well, the question there, merged by night 10K Ethereum by the end of 2021. It's hard to say what will happen in that time frame, but it's much easier for me to predict what will happen over the next 5 years. And if you saw my video from yesterday, it has my new updated Ethereum price predictions. And I think it'll be somewhere between 28,000 and 50,000 by the year 2030. So that's my prediction right now. Now, going from 3,500 to 10,000, considering what we've done over the past week or two, that could happen in 2 or 3 weeks at this rate of trajectory. So nothing would surprise me. Let me jump in and find they're going to be one, the Highlander, John A. I'm not sure what that means. And a lot of people love Cardano. One of the things I like about Cardano, with that question there, is what they're doing to help the unbanked in Africa, which is cool. BNB, by the way, that's the other coin that I own. I own Engine, BNB, Cardano, and of course, Ethereum and Bitcoin, but they are everything. So Chris R, $1.99, thank you so much. On Webull, how would you set your alerts for Ethereum? I don't have Webull. I use 7 exchanges, but Webull is not one of them. So I'm not even sure. But I set my alerts for stocks on TradingView. So I live in TradingView, that charting system. I have TradingView Pro Plus, and I use my technical analysis to identify my entry points on my alerts, my RSI alerts, my line alerts based on trend lines, etc. And that's how I do it. So Stellar Lumens, a lot of people are looking for information. Stellar Lumens, thanks for the question, Loans Keys. And there's just so much to look at. And right now as well, I do everything. So I look at the hottest disruptive equities, like the Teslas and some of the biotech firms. And I look at my key cryptos as well. Mostly I am in crypto and crypto proxies, like Square, like MicroStrategy. So I haven't looked at the full list of all the top 50 cryptos, but I am slowly ticking down the list. Now, in answer to that question from Luke Broadland, thank you so much. My thoughts on Matic, that's one of the ones I've yet to do due diligence on. I know a little bit about, but the thing is, there's just so much to look at. And at the same time, I have to research and I have to manage my existing portfolio and do my trades. So I go where the money is and where the safety is, because I'm very big on risk management. But Matic is on my list. VeChain is on my list. Solana is on my list. In fact, I'm going to do VeChain and Solana next. And then I'll get to things like Matic and Polkadot as well down the line. Okay, Brian Clark, BNB NFT network with 1 cent fees sounds huge. Yes. So BNB, what they're doing is very aggressive. The CZ guy is doing some incredibly creative things. So I've got nothing but for respect for Binance, and that's why I have some Binance, but not too much. James, drop some science about Dogecoin, please. Yeah, I think it's just a mystery of our time. I can't understand why it's happening. And Dogecoin from Constantine Ververius, hope I got that right. Hope you are from Greece. I love Athens, by the way. It'll never go to $10. It can't. That would just be stupidity. If the market, if Dogecoin goes to $10, that means it will almost eclipse Ethereum's market cap, and it has no value. So again, it's just one of those things. I don't quite know how it's being pumped. SafeMoon. I've heard from reliable source that SafeMoon is a bit of a scam, so be very, very careful. Shorting Doge is like shorting something like AMC or GameStop. I wouldn't recommend it because you never know where it's going to go, and it's very heavily manipulated. So be careful. From Shazeb Akan, how do you reckon ETC has a good future? Just your thoughts, thanks. Do you reckon ETC, Ethereum Classic, has a good future? I don't, because it doesn't have the functionality, it doesn't have the staying power that Ethereum has. All it is right now is a speculative asset, a place to park money. So again, what I would recommend, if you've made some good gains on Ethereum Classic, think about taking your money off the table and parking it somewhere safe. And so be careful of that. JRAM, thank you so much. Again, these contributions go towards the animals. And I do this to try to help everybody as well. So there's my list from Brian Clark: VeChain, Anchor, Matic, and Chainlink. Chainlink, yeah. Chainlink, I understand what they do, but I don't understand how they're going to be as big as the Ethereums of the world. So again, my discipline is always to follow the money or identify the next crypto that's going to explode. And things like VeChain and Solana, I think, from what I've seen so far, are very interesting. And there's some good news about XRP again today as well. So for the XRP army out there, we'll see. But again, what I don't like about XRP is the fact they have 51 billion tokens in escrow that they can dump at any time, and you could lose half your value. So remember, it's all about the supply. Patrick Rao, a question. Thank you so much. Would you be able to take a peek at Odious, please? I bought into a probably tank, 15% seem promising, thinking of leaving. Odious, I can, but I can't do it right now because when I look at something, I like to go deep, and that will take some time. So I'll try to have a peek at that too. So from CHR, is MicroStrategy lagging behind Ethereum? So we did a trade on MicroStrategy yesterday when it hit $600, which was nailing the bottom perfectly. And it was an options trade, and I was up, I think, 50 points today. I think it closed about 630. But again, with Bitcoin moving now, let me check the Bitcoin price. 57.3, which is higher than the market close. It should do very well. And oh my goodness, Ethereum is just making another all-time high at 35.50. So congrats to all you Ethereum people out there. And Pirate Chain, all the pirates out there going, "Arr." Yeah, that's not something I look at. Again, I intend to look at the big ones. Listen to A Perfect Circle. Yes, and Pucifer. And Thoughts on Tezos. Tezos is just outside of my list of the ones I look at, but it's ones I keep tab on. So Thrasher UK, thank you for the question, but I can't tell you. I do know some people that are big fans of Tezos, but it's not something I've done due diligence into. So I hope that helps. And Perfect Circle are great. Never saw them live. I've seen Tool live twice, but never A Perfect Circle. I think they're more of a studio band. So Decentraland, I know that's another one that looks, what makes you think VeChain is promising? Very good question from Eric Taylor. So I spent a chunk of my life working for big enterprise software companies, and I'm very familiar with enterprise software, things like supply chain software. And that's where I think there's massive opportunity. I know how much money goes into the space, and I know VeChain are positioning themselves in that space too. So it's kind of interesting. So big question from RB. Thank you so much. Do you believe big digital asset is a good stock? It's okay, but I prefer companies like GLXY instead of big digital assets. So not one that has made me even think about investing. So I hope that answers your question. I think there's better places to park money, safer places as well. I do believe GLXY Digital have a very bright future. They're doing all the right things, and they'll be a leader in the space. So I'm going to wrap up after one or two more questions, and I'm going for half an hour and my throat dries up. Let me see. Maker is going to be huge like Ethereum. I'm not sure. Thoughts on Tron? This is the second time Tron came up. Tron is not something I've dug into, but I will check them out, okay? Because you gave $5 towards the animals, I will check them out. And Adrian I, dollar cost average or big lump sum purchase on the next Ethereum dip. So I made a video actually on how to supercharge dollar cost averaging. So what I do is I break monies into a third. Adrian, great question. So imagine you've got $10,000 to spend on Ethereum. And I would set $3,300 at 3 Fibonacci lines, just a little bit over those lines as you go down. And then you get really good fills. Now, you may not fill all three, but you will get at least one or two of them on a dip. There was actually a big Ethereum wick today. I don't know if you guys saw it, but let me look at the chart. But it completely wicked down for just minutes. I think at around 118 Pacific, it took, $100 dip just in a second. So it wasn't very dramatic, but things like that can happen. But right now, there's so much momentum and there's so much buying with the 3 ETFs, and there's so much good publicity with Ethereum. I'm not too sure when the next dip will happen. But bear in mind, we were at up nearly $2,000 less than 2 weeks ago. So that would be my answer to that question. And, Mass, what toppings do you like on pizza? Interesting question. So I'm vegan. I don't eat cheese. And there used to be a pizza shop in San Francisco that made ones out of potato and garlic, which is delicious, but it was cheeseless. And they went out of business, sadly. Nobody liked cheeseless pizza. So I hope that answers, but I like garlic and I like potatoes. Ivan King, 5 more. Looking forward to your analysis in Tron. Okay. Tron. You guys got it. I'm going to do Solano, Tron, and VeChain. Okay. They're the next 3 on my list. Okay. I want to thank you, everybody. You guys rock. Joe and I, a fellow San Franciscan. Yes. I've been living there since the 90s. So, good. Do I watch BitBoy or Cryptozoras? From Brian Clark. Last question. I actually, it's going to sound really bad, but I actually don't watch YouTube very much, unless, of course, it's like people like Raoul Paul or Kathy Wood. So when did you go vegan and why? From Maz. When I first moved to Switzerland, I was very poor. I couldn't afford meat. So I became vegetarian. My partner at the time, she was too. So for 5 years, I was vegetarian in the early 90s. And then both my parents died of cancer, and I started researching what causes cancer. And I discovered a lot of processed meats and poor lifestyle and other unhealthy foods are very carcinogenic. And especially when you look at what they put into the animals, that can trigger hormonal imbalances in humans and cause cancer. So that was the big trigger for me to be that way. So thank you so much. Kish, I'd like to hear your thoughts on TRX as well. Okay, I'm going to have to write these down. This is recorded, so I'll be able to pull all this up. So big thank you, everybody. Be safe out there and enjoy the market. So Bitcoin is up 4,000 today. We're about to go into a new day. And Ethereum up $275. It's so funny when you have a cost base of Ethereum of about $200 and it goes up 275 in a day. It's crazy. That's why I always try and get in early on stuff. And thank you for all the tips on some names to look at, and I'll start researching them as well right now. Okay. Hello, Italy. We've got people from all over the world here. Thank you all. Okay. Good night. It's a wrap. Be safe.